Om Nityanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisam Tattvamasya Adilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvati Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. So let us first get into the salutation to Lord Sri Krishna before we start the Bhagavad Gita. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. I salute unto you, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Guru, Master of the world, Son of Vasudeva, Supreme Bliss of Devaki, Destroyer of Kamsa and Chanura. I salute to you. Now, a small recap. Yesterday, we were speaking about Dhritarashtra's self-doubt, and then how Duryodhana is the single cause for the whole war. His root pattern, how it became the cause for the whole clan's destruction. That's what we were speaking. And also we were speaking, Duryodhana is in conflict. His desire is to win the war, but he doesn't believe in it. See, even though Duryodhana knows the unmatched warrior skills of Dronacharya, his teacher, because of that, he had no choice but to keep him on his side, but still, he never respected Drona because he's a Brahmana. Not only that, he never even trusted Drona. He always felt Drona was partial to the Pandava princess, that Arjuna was his favorite. So that means what? There's a conflict between his desire and belief, gap. And even before the war starts, instead of inspiring his people, what did he do? First thing, he went to his Drona, his teacher, and taunting as though the failure of the war is going to be on the shoulders of Drona. That means he already knows, he had a feeling that it's going to end up that way, isn't it? Anyhow, so that is not responsibility, isn't it? He is the single cause for the war to happen, then at least he should take the responsibility of the war, isn't it? But he didn't do that. He was waiting to blame somebody. So today we are going to speak about Duryodhana is embodiment of self-denial. Please understand, his whole life was filled with deep inner conflict and painful reactions as he was fully convinced that he is a failure. The feeling of, I cannot make it. So, constantly, he has to prove his failures to himself by destroying others. Never creating anything by himself, only by destroying others. He had no sense of guilt going to war against his brothers because he desperately wanted to keep the kingdom for himself and did not believe that he would be safe as long as the Pandava princes were alive. That means what? He really doesn't believe in himself, isn't it? That's why he's constantly feeling threatened. Listen, if you're suffering with greed, your root pattern will be fear. If you are suffering with insecurity, your root pattern will be worrying. Understand? Once the patterns are formed, they act in a completely different way so that we can never discover them. Duryodhana's inner identity, Mamakara, was rooted in deep fear and insecurity born from self-denial. Self-denial was Duryodhana's root pattern. And his outer identity, Ahankara, Ahankara means the image we project out. So his ahankara, the image he projected to others, was greed to possess, which led to anger, hatred, and violence. See, please understand this. What he thinks about himself, what he feels about himself is insecurity and fear. And his outer identity is what? He projects that greed to possess everything, which leads to anger, hatred, and violence, and ultimately his destruction. His problem was not one of doing right or wrong. His pattern was might is right. Might is right. That was his pattern. Whatever he did was right according to him. He was not a man given to deep thinking. Please listen. All incompletions boil down to just two patterns: violence and fear. Both are one and the same. When fear comes, violence comes. When violence comes, fear comes. That's all. Understand, I'm defining incompletions. Incompletions are nothing but not looking at the fact and trying to pervert it, interpret it, manipulate it. All your plans to manipulate, pervert, and exploit is incompletion. See, many times we don't want to face our mistake, so we'll justify it. That means what? That's incompletion only, isn't it? Duryodhana tried to pervert, manipulate, push, and pull as he wanted to possess and conquer everything. But victory remains as a victory wherever Dharma is, wherever Sri Krishna is. However, Duryodhana had no trust in many of the great warriors who had taken his side. It's very sad, isn't it? He's having them on his side and he doesn't trust them. Please understand, all distrust, all doubting others is self-doubt. This is the rule of thumb. When you are in incompletion, driven by your root pattern, you will never be able to trust anybody. You will go on doubting others and you. All self-doubting is not having the right reason or adequate reasons. Duryodhana did not have right or adequate reasons for his action to wage the war. So he constantly kept on doubting and distrusting others. See, Duryodhana knew that many, especially Drona, Bhishma, and Kripa, please understand, Drona is their teacher, Dronacharya. Bhishma is the great-grandfather of all these kids. Basically, he is the head of the family. And Kripacharya is a Kula Guru. It's Guru for the whole clan. Understand? Who were also the teachers of the Pandava princes. All these three, see, even Bhishma and Kripa were also the teachers of Pandava princes. And all these three people did not want to fight the Pandava army. And Duryodhana knows about this. Duryodhana knows about this. He knew that they were compelled from a moral standpoint to fight for him and not as directed by their consciousness. Duryodhana knew about this. And this was the source of his conflict, uncertainty and incompletions. God, so beautifully this Bhagavad Gita is interpreted. Bhishma, Drona and Kripacharya, they are representing the kingdom. Their integrity is towards the kingdom and the king who is sitting on the throne. As of now, instead of Pandu gave all the responsibility to his brother Dhritarashtra, isn't it? So Dhritarashtra is sitting on the throne, isn't it? And as of now, until the war is won, Duryodhana is the prince there in the kingdom. Actually, dharmically, if they are on the side of Dharma, they are supposed to be with Pandavas. Because Pandava's side is the Dharma. But here what happened, their Swadharma, they always felt their Swadharma is not about who is Dharmic and who is Adharmic. Their Swadharma is about towards the kingdom. And they're eating the food of the king, right? Food of the kingdom. So their primary loyalty became that. So even though dharmically their consciousness did not agree that because these guys were adharmic, They didn't want the war, but still they had to stand because of their swadharma towards kingdom. That's what happened. Because they knew that this is not dharmic. So they did not like the war. They didn't want the war. And they tried to stop in all ways possible. But once the king gives a command, they have to follow. So that's what happened. According to them, morale is towards whatever king says, they have to obey. That's all. So Duryodhana knew that they were compelled from a moral standpoint to fight for him and not as directed by their consciousness. This was the source of his conflict, uncertainty, and incompletion. That is why Duryodhana's root pattern of self-denial was steeped in deep fear of survival. His pattern of self-doubting means Atma Sandeha led to self-denial, Atma Droha, leading to his self-destruction, Atma Hatya. Understand? His Atma Sandeha led to Atma Droha, leading to Atma Hatya. I tell you, the worst killer is the self-doubting pattern. This is the root of all roots, I tell you. The one who doubts himself and doubts others is already in hell. Hell is sponsored by the people who doubt themselves and others. It is also strange that at the beginning of the war, Duryodhana chose to go to Drona and not Bhishma. See here, Bhishma, his great-grandfather and commander-in-chief, he did not choose to go to Bhishma, he chose to go to Drona. Drona, why you know? Drona was a subject of the king, to whom Duryodhana could talk abrasively. But Bhishma, on the other hand, was his great-grandfather, the one who had given up his chance to be king, to fulfill his own father's moral obligations, and to satisfy his father's lust. So Duryodhana could not have said the same words to Bhishma at this stage of the war, at this level of the war. Bhishma, actually, he is supposed to be the heir of this kingdom. He is actually the original son of Shantanu. But what happened? Shantanu had this son, Bhishma, with Ganga. Ganga is river Ganga. Okay. Then later she left, and Shantanu saw one lady, fisherman lady, in the jungle. He was going after the animals, wild animals. So he was going there. There he saw this fisherwoman. He saw, and he fell in love. But now already his son is supposed to be declared as a crown prince, the first son, Bhishma, and already he turned to the age of marriage. So how will he marry, right? So without saying anything, he sits in the house but in depression, in the palace. So this Bhishma notices this and he finds out the reason of the depression for his father's depression. So he goes and he speaks to that lady's father to get her married to his father. That guy says, if children are born to my daughter, they will not be heirs of this kingdom. You are going to be the heir. So I can't give my daughter. So this Bhishma, he takes an oath. As long as I live, I will not marry. I'll be a brahmachari and I will not claim. First he will say, I will not claim the kingdom for my kids. Still that guy expresses doubt, the other fellow, that lady's father. Then Bhishma says, okay, I'm not even going to marry. So he takes an oath of brahmacharya and gives up the kingdom and married life, everything, just to fulfill his father's love. That is why he's called Bhishma, Bhishma Pratigna, because he took that, such a severe oath. That's why they started calling him as Bhishma. So because this Bhishma is such a personality, great personality, and he's not subject of the king, isn't it? So Duryodhana couldn't have said the same words to him. That is why he approached Drona, because Drona, even though he's a teacher, is subject of the king. Understand? Ego always needs support. So let us hear the words of Duryodhana in the verses. What are the verses saying? First, I will give the meaning of the verses, then commentary. Okay? So here Duryodhana is saying, your good self, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, who are ever victorious in battle. And even so, Ashwatthama is Dronacharya's son. He is also a great warrior. Vikarna and the son of Somadatta, many other heroes there are who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All are well equipped with different weapons and well experienced in warfare science. The strength of army of ours, protected by Bhishma, is invincible, whereas the strength of their army, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. Means opposite side. Stationed in your respective divisions on all strategic fronts, all of you must give full protection to grandfather Bhishma. Bhishma, the mighty patriarch of the Kuru dynasty, their glorious grandsire, then blew upon his conch loudly, roaring like a lion. Courage is the fragrance of authenticity. He was inauthentic as his mamakara. What he perceived as himself was much lower than his ahankara, what he projected as himself to others, isn't it? See, he always projected that one who possesses and that and this, but inside he's having insecurity. He's not having that valor. He's not believing his valor. He is not even believing that he has some valor. So what he perceived as himself was much lower than what he projected as himself to others. That is why he is inauthentic. Understand? When one is in denial, suffering is naturally going to be there. His root pattern of self-denial, of deep fear and insecurity, had always made him feel threatened by the fact that his Pandava cousins, especially Arjuna and Bhima, were far more superior, physically stronger and skilled than him. This is the root cause for everything. See, understand, even us, why we react the way we do. Sometimes we raise voice, sometimes we just burst. Why? Actually, inside we are powerless. That's why. When that emotion comes, if we just look in, we will just realize, just awareness is enough to melt it down. Duryodhana felt secure only when surrounded by cronies. His strength and valor arose from the feeling of being supported by his clan and the army around him. On the positive side, Duryodhana was an extremely generous friend who gave his all for the sake of someone he trusted. The good side is also there, small good side. This quality had attracted strong men like Karna to him, who swore undying loyalty. See, good quality attracted something good. The bad inauthenticity attracted bad also, isn't it? So even though Karna knew that Arjuna was his own brother, remember the Karna who Pandava's mother, before she got married, she had with sun god and she put him away in the river. Remember that Karna? He was brought up by charioteer. His mother's name is Radha. That's why he's called Radhe also, Karna, the mother who brought him up. So even Karna knew that Arjuna was his own brother, all he could say to his mother Kunti was that she would finally be left with 5 sons, implying that one of her sons, either Arjuna or Karna, would perish in the war. Please understand, during the war, Kunti goes and asks, please don't kill the Pandavas, because Karna is a very great warrior. So he says, except Arjuna, I will leave everybody else. You are always called as Pandava's mother, right? Pandava means 5. So you will be left with 5 only. Either me or Arjuna will be alive. Because he finds out that she is his own mother during the war. Such was the loyalty that Duryodhana evoked in his friends. That's the good side of Duryodhana. Now, Duryodhana now rightly went on to claim that there were a number of people who were great warriors who would willingly lay down their lives for him. He then began to boast his own morale by saying that the power of the Kaurava army led by Bhishma was immense, whereas the Pandava army with Bhima as one of the commanders was limited in power. He is only reassuring himself. Duryodhana's reference to Bhima alongside Bhishma was due to the fear pattern that he had, because of the oath that Bhima had taken to break Duryodhana's thigh and drink his blood to avenge the insult to Draupadi. Because, understand, Draupadi was pulled into the public court and they tried to disrobe her. Then Draupadi's husband Bhima takes an oath, I'll break Duryodhana's thigh and drink that blood, because he insulted Draupadi that way. So because of this oath, Duryodhana had a fear pattern. That is why he's comparing Bhima and Bhishma side by side. Duryodhana knew that the only factor that could prevent that oath to happen would be the protection of Bhishma. Because Bhishma is much powerful, right? Anybody, if they can protect Duryodhana from that oath of Bhima, it is only Bhishma. He knows that. Because breaking the thigh, he will die. That is why. So Duryodhana then addressed the Kaurava army, exhorting them to support their commander-in-chief Bhishma. In response, Bhishma blew his conch like a lion. Means what? Making Duryodhana joyful. Bhishma was the first Kaurava commander-in-chief. And Duryodhana wanted to make sure that the entire Kaurava army was committed to his leadership. Bhishma, the greatest warrior, either side had known, was leading the Kaurava army. So Duryodhana wanted to take no chances that his past hatred towards Bhishma would affect his assembled supporters. Though he knew that Bhishma and even Drona would have gone with the Pandava princes and Krishna, had it not been their strong bonds of duty, he could not afford to antagonize them, isn't it? See, if it's not their strong bonds of duty, they wouldn't stand on this side, no? So I was speaking about self-denial. Now let us speak about the qualities of dharma. Ah, wow. Even to speak about dharma is amazing. See, the taste you have shows what kind of a person you are. What is tasting good to you? What is chasteful to you? That shows our personality. Bhishma is the embodiment of dharma, righteousness. He is the Pitamaha, the great father of Mahabharata, the great sire and patriarch of the Pandavas and Kaurava clan. Really, what a strong character in the story. Wow, it adds depth to Mahabharata. Bhishma was born to Ganga as Devavrata. He was the only surviving son of 8 sons whom Ganga had given birth to. Ganga means the river Ganga, sacred Ganga. Ganga who always resides on the Lord Shiva's head, right? In Jata. I shouldn't say head, Jata. So Ganga, the sacred most river energy, is the great grandmother of Mahabharata. When Bhishma's father, King Shantanu, wanted to marry Satyavati, a daughter of a fisherman, Devavrata swore to remain as a brahmachari, never to marry, so that his stepmother Satyavati's children could have access to his father's throne. What a personality! Who will do that? Really? Satyavati was the grandmother of both Pandu and Dhritarashtra. See, understand? Knowing fully well that whatever path Duryodhana was following was not only morally incorrect, but also against dharma, the cosmic law, it is. People like Bhishma and Drona chose to be on the Duryodhana's side. It's an irony. In the highest spiritual sense, there is no right or wrong morality. Everything is neutral. Bhishma and Drona were not ordinary people. They were highly matured souls, adept in living the scriptural truths. Moreover, they were fully aware that Krishna is a divine incarnation. See, Duryodhana and all these people don't know that. See, Krishna was living amidst them, but they didn't know that Krishna was an incarnation. Bhishma and Drona were fully aware that Krishna is a divine incarnation. And the very fact that Krishna sided with the Pandavas was a clear indication to them as to how the war would unfold. They knew before itself. As great warriors themselves, they had no fears about their own deaths. And more importantly, they had no guilt, no incompletions about what they had embarked upon because they were duty bounded. Great men like Bhishma, Drona, and Kripacharya trusted their inner space. Duryodhana was their prince, and they were committed to him, not attached to result of the war. They were certain that Duryodhana would perish, and they would too, along with him. Still, they didn't have incompletion. In fact, at one point in the war, when Krishna was greatly angered at the rout that Bhishma was causing in the Pandava army, Krishna got down from Arjuna's chariot that he was driving. See, understand? Krishna was driving the Arjuna's chariot. Hey, really? Charioteer is very important for one's life, isn't it? Who is guiding you? Who is taking you? Where? See? Krishna gets down from the chariot he was driving and advanced menacingly towards Bhishma. Then Bhishma instantly laid down his arms, joined his palms in prayer to the advancing Krishna, who was wielding a chariot wheel as his Sudarshana Chakra, the divine discus weapon on his finger. And Bhishma greeted him, Lord, it will be the greatest blessing for me to die at your hands. They were great devotees of Krishna. To these great warriors, dying on the battlefield was the duty of a Kshatriya, a warrior. They weren't concerned with the righteousness of Duryodhana's motives. Their integrity transcended the moral rights and wrongs established by society and religion. What is morality? In a given society, in a given era, morality is generally the accepted standards of what is desirable and undesirable, what is considered right or wrong conduct, and good or bad behavior of a person, a group, or an entity. This is what morality is, isn't it? Morality is about good and bad, right and wrong, and it changes from time to time, era to era. When time changes, all these changes. But dharma doesn't change. Please understand, integrity is not morality or ethics of the society. Please understand this definition. Integrity is a spiritual value. Integrity is you fulfilling the word and thought you give to yourself and others and experiencing the state of purnatva, completion with yourself and others. Integrity is not ethics. Ethics is different. Integrity is different. Of course, even basic ethics, if you don't have, you can't even understand integrity. That's a different issue. Morality and ethics vary from time to time. Integrity is absolute. These warriors disapproved of Duryodhana's insult of the Pandava princess and Draupadi in the court, but did not protest. They disapproved. They did not protest. They disapproved of Duryodhana's instigation of this war and yet took his side, knowing fully well that what lay ahead was destruction. Somehow there's no break in the topic, guys, for me to stop. This is like a caramel. Caramel, even when you swallow, it sticks, you see. The taste. It's like this Bhagavad Gita. Even the session is getting over, still something is there which is more. Because they were integrated, they did not worry about, they did not have fear or anything about the result, right? So there's no conflict. Where is the conflict? They were very clear. Yes, they did not like the conduct, but they are duty bound. So they took the decision of standing by the side of Duryodhana. So knowingly that it's going to get destroyed, still they took that decision because now they surrendered the result, right? So they don't have any conflict. No, it is about They were integrated to their duty. No inauthenticity in that. So there's no conflict for them. Only conflict was Duryodhana's, because he is not taking responsibility for the war he instigated. Bhishma and all were responsible people. Taking responsibility for Duryodhana's inauthenticity also, isn't it? See, understand that they disapproved of Duryodhana's instigation of this war and behavior and adharma and everything. But yet they took his side, knowing fully well that what lay ahead is destruction. This was not foolishness or resignation from the powerless space. That is what matters. They are not doing this from the powerless space. This was surrender to the inevitable, surrender to the divine. At the level of their consciousness, these great masters allowed nature to take its own course. See, understand, they also know if Krishna is allowing this war, that means it's supposed to happen. So they just surrendered. To relax and allow whatever happens to happen is the sure sign of an evolved spirit. That is how, from that space, they acted, even though they disapproved. So they surrendered to that. Ordinary humans have the freedom to think, choose, and act. As a result, they think they are in control of their destinies. In a sense, they are. They make their destinies and act upon them. But it is their unconscious root patterns that drive them to all these decisions. I'm talking about ordinary humans. A cycle is created as the root thought patterns lead to certain incomplete actions, and those incomplete actions in turn mold their mental setup and lead to more and more incompletions. This becomes like a cycle. Cycle gets created, vicious cycle. Yet a human has the choice to break out of this cycle of incompletions and live in freedom. This freedom is the space of completion, and the signs of completing with this incomplete cycle of root patterns is the signs of completion, Purnatva. This is the dharma taught in the Gita scripture. Krishna started. Swamiji has given us practically to mass people he is giving. Listen, there are two ways to live life. One is to accept the world and life as it is, as we perceive it without any resistance, being complete, to see the reality as it is. What in Sanskrit is termed Srishti Drishti. The other way is to try to make circumstances evolve according to our viewpoint, to create the reality as we want to see. This is called Drishti Srishti. Understand? Srishti Drishti means Srishti is there, you are perceiving and you're complete about it. Drishti Srishti means as you see, you create your reality. Understanding? These are the only two ways to live life. We were talking about Drishti Srishti. The first attitude of Srishti Drishti, one of acceptance out of completion, brings happiness. The second one, Drishti Srishti, one of resistance, brings suffering. No one can change the whole world, according to his viewpoint. I was saying, no revolution has ever succeeded in bringing about any significant positive change. Revolutionaries who claim that they are against a dictatorship become dictators themselves. That has always been history. Ironically, an enlightened master has no such freedom. He is a faithful channel of the universal energy, Parashakti, the divine existence. Every move, every thought is at the behest of the divine. An enlightened being is beyond choice. He is in complete surrender to the divine. Bhishma was of pure divine origin because he is the son of Ganga. Ganga is the embodiment of pure inner space. Bhishma had the gift of Ichha Mrityu, self-willed death. That is what Swamiji was saying, right? He would give Ichha Mrityu for all of us, the boon. His dharma, his integrity and authenticity were the standard for his era. Please understand, he was an example for his era. He was an embodiment of integrity, authenticity. Yet, understand, yet Bhishma kept quiet when Draupadi was attempted to be disrobed and insulted. Because, why you know? He had the wrong association with self-denial, Duryodhana, and being in integrity to his huge vow to always protect the kingdom's royal seat, he did not act when Duryodhana denied the Pandavas even a patch of land the size of a needle tip. He was bound to that. That's why. That's why we should never have wrong association. We should always ask Bhagavan for good company, good association, right association. He chose to fight for Duryodhana. However, when Duryodhana requested him to lead the Kaurava army, Bhishma told him that the Pandava princes were as dear to him as Duryodhana was, and while he would wage war against their army, he could not take their lives. This was the condition under which Bhishma agreed to fight against the Pandava army on Duryodhana's behalf. Okay, at least he did very good there. Because Bhishma can kill. Even though Pandavas were such great warriors, yet in this instance, Bhishma's compassion for Duryodhana overcame his distaste for his actions and behavior. Bhishma understood the desperate fear running through Duryodhana's mind, and he felt the need to reassure him. Because anyway, wartime has come. In response to these exaggerated claims of Duryodhana, Bhishma blew his conch as a sign of resounding affirmation of whatever had been said by Duryodhana. So Sanjaya said, so Sanjaya, who is narrating all this story? Sanjaya is narrating to Dhritarashtra, the blind king, right? So Sanjaya is describing, he said that Bhishma's conch sounded like the roar of a lion, coming from the oldest and the bravest of all the warriors assembled on the battlefield. It was also an affirmation of Bhishma's own support to the Kaurava prince and the signal for the war to begin. Bhishma's conch was a celebratory signal seeking victory. You know what? Even in war, there were certain rules, regulations, and dharma. Until with the conch, you announce war cannot be started. You can't just whenever you want lift a weapon and kill somebody. No, there are some ways for that too. Even for a war, there are certain dharmas in war also, which you have to maintain. So these are the qualities of dharma and how to flow with the nature.